103.8 Happy FM सधैं खुशी सधैं सुखी.
Welcome to Happy FM.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Tell me something about you and your organization.
Well, I'm the resident coordinator of the United Nations, so as such, I'm the head of the UN. The United Nations are in Nepal for more than 60 years now. We have more than 20 resident agencies, 1,400 staff members working in the UN, the majority of them being Nepali. So the UN force in Nepal is more than 1,200 Nepali staff members.
What does the UNDP work for?
So the UN cover a broad range, actually almost all aspects of development. We work with the different agencies. We have agencies dealing with issues related to education, to children, to protection of environment, to women's rights, to heritage, and so on and so forth. And within this organization, you have UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Programme. UNDP has various projects. One of them is very much focusing on the issues of governance and rule of law. It's actually the main agency looking at these issues within Nepal. Another component is very much related to a fight against poverty and addressing the sustainable development for the country. And then a third component is very much related to the issue of resilience, climate change, disaster risk management. And in that, UNDP is involved in both supporting the government in the development of specific policies to address issues of climate change, as well as working with communities in supporting them in a series of projects that they could have. So we have a whole variety of activities, both working on issues of land, of forest, of soil, of food chain, and so on and so forth.
What are the major programs of UNDP in current days?
We have so many. We have more than 30 projects as such. So, but if you want to look mostly at the project related to environment, we have some project that looks at the sustainability of the water basin in some areas. So in some areas of Nepal, we do work with the management of the water basin for the communities. We have projects like the one that we visited today here, where we support this vulture restaurant for vulture, which is a fantastic initiative, local initiative, because it tackles both the issue of preservation of the fauna, preservation of the flora, as well as working together with communities, so helping the development of community and at the same time raising awareness. A big aspect of the work of UNDP as well is raising awareness. So making sure that both communities, people, public at large, but also local authorities know what they can do within the context of their responsibilities to address the issue of climate change. As you know, the country, Nepal, as well as 192 other countries in the world, have signed on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals really clearly indicate that development has to be understood from this approach of people, planet and prosperity. And therefore UNDP works on all these three aspects of people, planet and prosperity. So we have really projects in so many different areas.
While working for conservation since so long time, what are the major problems in conservation?
Well, the fact is that, first of all, I think it comes with we need the necessary framework of law. So this is not necessarily a problem, but Nepal has adopted already a series of laws and policies, but there is a need to adopt some more, to go further into these issues. So that's one component. The other component is really population's awareness, because definitely while the government has a role to play, people also have a role to play. And what we realize in Nepal is that yet the population doesn't have really a sense of what is their responsibility. Because people have not understood yet that if they throw their bottle of water outside or their paper, this will contribute to contamination. People don't even know that when they burn their garbage, they contribute to making the air unsustainable for people around. So this sensitization and awareness of population is a very crucial step. Then we have to equip local authorities at provincial, at local level and at community level with the capacity to handle these issues. Because the fact is that UNDP, we are helping governments at different levels to do work, but we don't do the work instead of them. You know, the work has to be implemented by the government itself or the governments themselves when we consider the local ones. So one of the work of UNDP is also to work on capacity building. And then we have some very specific projects. The Vulture Restaurant is one. Another project, for instance, that UNDP implemented some years ago was the project of putting in place a drainage system on the Imja Lake, just at the foot of the Everest, because the lake was growing because of the melting of the glaciers, and there was a threat on the population downstreams that should the bank of the lake burst, then there would be a very terrible flood for the population. So UNDP helped also implement such a project. So you see that we work at different levels. We work at the overall governance level, as well as a more practical level with communities and capacity building as well.
What's your experience after watching vulture feeding, and how much you were excited?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'm very happy. First of all, I'm a lover of nature and animals, so I'm very happy to have seen that. I'm also very happy because it shows that you have brilliant people in Nepal, people who have brilliant ideas. I mean, definitely the people who have put this project together are visionary people. They understood that what they do will have a much bigger impact than the very initial idea that they had. And I think that it promises a lot, because it shows that there are people in Nepal who have good ideas, who have the passion to do it, and with a little bit of support, whether it's from us, whether it's from a local authority, they can make a huge difference. So I'm very enthusiastic, because I think that you have such a unique environment in Nepal, it needs to be preserved. And also you are a tiny country among a big nation in the region, but you can make such a difference and you can give an example. And I think a project like this one has already set an example. I understand that it has already duplicated. There are 6 other restaurants for vultures in Nepal, which is fantastic. And it is also duplicated outside of Nepal, in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh. So it shows that Nepal can be a trendsetter. Nepal can give an example, can really develop ideas that other countries in the world, even though they might be more powerful countries, will take example on Nepal. So Nepal can be like a little laboratory for all these ideas. So I'm very enthusiastic with this.
What's your last message for our viewers for the conservation? Your message?
That it is so important that we preserve our environment. Because you see, as it has been said all along, the planet can do without us, but we cannot do without the planet. You know, humanity, we cannot live if we don't have nature. If there is no fauna, no flora for us, we cannot sustain our existence. But we can be extinguished. The nature will continue to survive. So that's our role. And also, I think it's a responsibility that we all have. And we have also to consider that we have a responsibility for the generations to come. You see, I'm from that generation where I'm sometimes very upset, thinking that the generations before me organize a development that at the end of the day creates today a planet where it's not so good to breathe, where so many problems. So I'm a bit upset, because I think, why didn't they think of us? And now I'm a mom, I have a son. I don't want my son to live in an environment where he has to go outside with a mask, where he cannot enjoy, where he cannot see some animals because they have disappeared. So I think we all have to have this perception that, you know, we have to preserve, because it's a treasure that we pass on from generation to generation. It's not for us to keep, it's for us to preserve and to pass it on.
Thank you for your time.